Hello, this is Julie Hogue with Vegetarians and Meat Lovers, the Split Table Recipes podcast. Talking about food all the time on this podcast and how do you avoid being a short order cook? When you have multiple diets in your house, my drive for doing this was because it's how my life is. And I'm a vegetarian. The rest of my family eats meat. So I started cooking this way years and years ago, cooking for vegetarian myself and my husband who ate meat. I even went back to when I used to cook for my dad and my sister. They ate meat and I didn't. So this has been kind of a lifelong thing for me, which brought me to start posting on my website, juliehoguewriter.com, about this. I created a cookbook, One Dish, Two Diets, and then I created a quiche, little mini quiche cookbook. And, you don't have to be a short order cook. There are ways to do it. Like this recipe I'm going to talk about today is stuffed shells, right? Okay, so this is really easy to do because you can make it vegetarian and then have your meat on the side, which is how I made this one. That's like a super no-brainer way to do it, right? You just put the meat on the side. That's like easy. This recipe is so good though. It's super creamy. And you can take recipes and modify them. I do that all the time too, where I find a recipe online. I'm like, how can I make this work for my family? And people can do this obviously for their families if, you got a gluten-free person or allergies, someone who can't have dairy, because there's nice little substitutes out there for those kind of things. So you just got to think outside the box and just kind of plan your meal. How can I make this work for my family? Think ahead. And there's certain recipes you can't do this with if the meat is very integral, or you just change it. It's an experiment. And this one was an experiment too, and I took it from an original recipe that I totally changed. And I think the original recipe was Mom on Timeout. So I took her recipe. She had easy stuffed shells, and I'm like, I made her actual recipe, and it was good. But then I changed it. And I changed it into a version that made it really super creamy. It's so good. It's so good. I hope you're having a great fall. We're moving into the holidays here pretty soon. So I got to figure out what I'm going to make for Thanksgiving. That's the thing to think about, right? Everyone else has piled in my family. We all make something, and everyone else has said, I'm making this, I'm making this, I'm making this. And I'm the last one. I haven't said what I'm making yet. So I guess I have to make whatever's left, right? I guess that's the way it goes when you wait till the last minute. Okay, so we're going to get into this stuffed shells recipe. And this actually happened sort of on accident because I forgot to buy an ingredient. Whoops. Did you ever do that before? And you're sitting there looking at, okay, this is what I'm making for dinner and I'm missing an ingredient. What do I do? You start thinking, what do I have? What can I substitute? And in this case, I had a block of cream cheese because I had made some dips recently and I bought the double pack of cream cheese, the blocks, And I'm like, well, why not do this? The original recipe, I think, called for blended cottage cheese. And I'm like, well, why not use cream cheese? And it tastes so good. It is definitely a comfort food, but it's really good. So what you're going to need is the jumbo pasta shells, the 12 ounce. Obviously, you're going to cook those and then you let them cool a little bit because otherwise they're hot to touch, baby. You got to touch those things. You burn your little fingers off. So the ingredients, let's get focused here. We have 12 ounces of jumbo pasta shells. Okay. And then 1/2 tablespoon of kosher salt, which I changed from the original recipe too. And then you've got your ricotta cheese, 15 ounces of ricotta cheese. And here's my substitution. Then I did the 8 ounces of cream cheese. So that's a double cheese recipe, baby. And then 6 ounces of Parmesan cheese. And I used the grated. I'm sure you could actually I've used both, grated and shredded. I've used it both ways. Then you need 1 egg and then 2 cloves of garlic minced, like in the jar. 1 tablespoon of fresh parsley minced. I've also used dried parsley, so don't kill yourself over it if you can't have fresh. It's okay to use dried, baby. I always have dried in my pantry, right? Don't run to the store for fresh. Just use it dried, sweets. And then you use 3/4 cup fresh basil leaves. Again, if you don't have fresh, it's okay to use dried. And I did have fresh because I grow it and I actually brought the pot in. And you can use 1.5 teaspoons of dried if you're going to use dried, and 3/4 cup of fresh basil leaves if you're going to use fresh. And then you need 1/2 teaspoon fresh ground pepper or black pepper, whatever. Again, we don't need to be that picky. And then we need 32 ounces of marinara sauce. And you can do 2 24s if you want extra sauce for the meatballs on the side, which is what I do because, that's the end of the ingredients. I have to tell a funny story. Oh, it's not. There's also 8 ounces of mozzarella cheese. Okay, the funny story about the meatballs with my kids, one time I didn't have enough sauce. And so then I just cooked the meatballs and I put it in a container. And they looked at me and they're like, meatballs without sauce? Like they were like aghast. So I make sure I have a little bit of extra sauce so we aren't bald meatballs here. And so now they really like that. So the 24 and 24 gives you a little bit where you can use some of it to coat the meatballs too. So they're not naked meatballs, baby. It's so funny how kids react sometimes, right? And basically they're all adults, but they're still my kids. Okay, so what are you going to do? How are you going to make this puppy? You're going to preheat the oven to 350. Spray that 9x13-inch baking dish with cooking spray, any kind of cooking spray you want. And then you're going to spread some marinara sauce on the bottom of the pan. It says half, but I don't know, whatever. I just pour some down there so it's coated. And then you set it aside. Okay, then obviously you're going to cook your noodles, your pasta shells, and let them cool. And those suckers are hot for a long time, honey. So take them out and put them on something. I usually take some out, lay them on a plate or a cutting board or something so they can cool while you're filling the ones that are already cooled. So you're not burning your fingers off. They get hot and they stay hot because they're touching each other in the strainer, right? So you're going to fill those, and I just kind of do a half, maybe about a teaspoon per shell. You don't have to be super hyper about it. Just get some in there. And then you're going to want to whip your cheeses together. And I usually do you can just stir it with a spoon if you want. I mean, you want to get all crazy, you can get a hand blender or something. And if you are using the cottage cheese, you do want to do that. But if you're using the cream cheese like this recipe calls for, if it's soft, you probably can just use a regular spoon. And when I do this, I usually will put it in the microwave for a little bit just to soften that cream cheese so I can stir it. Otherwise, I'm oh, this is like stirring cement, right? And it is when it's a cold brick of cream cheese. That is hard to stir, right? So soften it. Let it sit on the counter for a while or even microwave it. I usually microwave it because I don't think I had that well. And you're going to add also the egg, the Parmesan cheese, garlic, parsley, basil, salt, and pepper. One more time, you're going to have that cream cheese. You're going to have the ricotta cheese, Parmesan cheese, egg, garlic, parsley, basil, salt, and pepper. And stir that all together. And then that's what you're going to put in the shells. The shredded cheese is going to go on the top. So this is what makes if you want to add some in there, it's not a big deal, baby. Just do it. But I did just put it on the top. And then, so you're going to fill all these shells. And when I've done it, I have a little bit too many. So you got to get them in there. You got to wiggle them in there. And sometimes they can lay on top of each other. It doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to be confluent against the ground of the pan, the bottom of the pan. I never called the bottom of the pan ground before. That was weird. So you stack them in there. And then you're going to cover the shells with the remaining sauce. Now, I do try to take a spoon and cover all the little noodle surfaces so that they don't get hard. I don't mind if the noodles get hard, but my kids well, this noodle's hard. So they're pickier than I am. So just to make them all soft, just cover them. Just a little layer of sauce all over everything. And then you'll cover with the mozzarella cheese. And then you pop it in the oven. And this one, it doesn't cook for a super long time. It cooks for about 25 minutes. And then I do take the cover off, because I covered it with the tin foil. And then just to make sure that the cheeses all get melted on top and the sauces are bubbling along the sides. So I'd say 25 to 35 minutes, depending on your oven. And then you're ready to eat it. It's so creamy. The ricotta cheese and the cream cheese together makes it super creamy. This is another tip I want to say too, is you don't want to overload those shells too much. First of all, you want to make sure you get enough in all of the shells so you don't waste any of those shells. And the other thing is too, a big mouthful of soft cheese isn't always necessarily the best bite, right? So less is more. And, if you do end up with some where you didn't put enough in there, you could just take it and kind of smear it over the top of the shells. If you have a little bit of the cheese mixture left, because you didn't put enough in all the little bitty shells, just smear it on top. And then, big deal, right? Then you can pour your sauce and then add your mozzarella cheese. No harm done. But, think about that. You're biting into something. You don't want to bite into this big, soft, huge mouthful of soft cheese. It's not really a nice bite, is it? So that's what I'm saying. Don't stress it if you don't put too much in there. But if you do add too little and you have some in the end, just spread it all over. You'll use it. And why throw it away? Just add it in there. You can improvise just like that. So this was really good Italian meal. I just had those frozen meatballs on the side that I cooked separately in the oven and then put in a separate bowl on the side. And then, of course, put the sauce on it so they're not naked. And so then it's perfect because it works for vegetarian and it works for meat eaters because they can either pick the meatballs or skip them, right? My oldest son is dating a vegetarian, which is just crazy to me, right? There are a lot of vegetarians, but it's just funny to me that he's dating a vegetarian. And so when she comes to dinner, something like this works really good too because I need a good amount of vegetarian because normally I'm used to just cooking for me and my family, so I need just a little bit of vegetarian for myself. But then when she's coming, I need more, right? She doesn't eat a whole lot, but I still need more. So in this kind of recipe, it's so versatile because she can eat any part of the pan and I can eat any part of the pan and the meat is on the side. So it's like an ideal split table recipe meal. And then the great thing is too, the leftovers work that way too. So, sometimes that happens to me where I have leftovers and it's only meat leftovers or there's too much meat leftovers and then I can't have any. That's why I love this kind of meal because the entire pan is meatless. So that's not an issue. I can eat any part of it left over and then I just don't pick the meatballs. That's it. Easy peasy, right? So thanks for listening to this and I hope you enjoy this recipe. I did use the Raos, R-A-O-S sauce, but I have used multiple different kinds of sauce. I like to switch up the different brands of sauce sometimes because it makes it taste different, right? Because all those recipes are different. So it's a fun way to do it is to alter a little bit by just picking a different kind of sauce. So, happy eating, right? Well, I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you're getting into the fall thoughts about food. It's going to be coming up here pretty quick, right? It comes and then all of a sudden it's Christmas. This time of year tends to just zoom by. We are getting ready to think about the holidays. Our youngest son does band, and so he was doing marching band, and that ended. But now they're doing pep band. So anytime a sports team from the school goes to sectionals or state, they get to go and be the sound effects for the game. So that's always fun. He's enjoying that. And he just got into jazz band, 2 jazz bands, no less. So those are some things happening for us. And, it's getting to be the holiday time. So got to start thinking about holiday foods, right? And my next one that I'm going to do, so you can look forward to it, I'm actually planning ahead. Look at me. Whoa, I'm planning ahead. Who am I? This is a hybrid easy sausage and egg bake. This is really good. And again, I modified this recipe. So, I say I modified. It ends up I'm making my own recipe. So, but that's what happens. And, sometimes we do have to modify a recipe because we don't have the right ingredients. Okay, make a little substitution. Or we need to make it work for a group of people that some of them can't have a particular thing in it. Modifying again. So it's not that big of a deal. You just have to think about it and plan it ahead. Sometimes, of course, you try this stuff and it doesn't work, but sometimes it works out beautifully. This recipe is really good, so you'll like this too. And it's one that I can easily whip up without a whole lot of fuss, right? Those are the kind of recipes I definitely like. Well, thank you so much for listening to this and come back again soon. I hope you have an amazing day and I really appreciate for you listening. And I hope you follow me and give me a review. Nobody's given me a review yet. Somebody tell me what they like about my show. I would love it if you did. Thank you so much for listening, and you have an amazing day. Bye-bye now.